Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the webinar. Thank you so much for joining us today evening. At some point in life, we've all contemplated how to turn our passions into our profession, or to put it simply, quitting your job to do what you love the most and get paid for it. That's the dream, right? Well, guess what? Two of our alumni have done the exact same thing in a very unconventional way. Today, we have with us Deepak Bothra and Jagdeep Singh, our very own alumni, to share their stories with us. Both of them quit their lucrative corporate career to pursue the one thing they were truly passionate about, poker. Now, starting with Deepak. Deepak graduated from IIM Indore in the year 2011. A CA by qualification, he worked in the finance industry for about 8 years with very well-known organizations like Tata Teleservices, Torrent Pharmaceuticals, Deutsche Bank, and TRISIL before he finally quit the corporate grind to pursue poker professionally. He has represented India in the World Series of Poker last year. And apart from poker, he also enjoys trekking and goes on treks every year. Deepak, over to you. Let's listen to more.
Hello everyone. Uh, I'll start with the I'll shortly complete. I'll tell you about my journey post IIM and also pre IIM. So I did CA in 2005, and thereafter I worked in various organizations for about 4 years. And in the first year of after completing CA, I wanted to be a VP or director of some company. But after first year, I was sure that I want to do something on my own. I don't want to do corporate journey, and it's not for me. But I had no idea, what to do, and I also didn't have financial freedom to, just leave the job and sit idle in the home for 6 months and then think about starting something new. So I continued working, and I also started giving cat. I liked solving puzzles. So I did cat, and I thought that I'll go only if I get admission into IIM Ahmedabad. So I got into IIM Indore, and it was 2008. The financial crisis here. So I thought at first instance I thought I'll not join in, but then I spoke to some people, and they said to me that this is the right time to leave job and invest some time in studying. And also I was not enjoying very much working, so I thought this is the time I'll take off from my working career, and I'll see what I can learn from MBA. So I started MBA. First few months, like everybody, I started studying a lot, and thereafter I realized कि नहीं होगा ये तो. And I learned poker in, I think, first towards the end of first semester, and I really loved the game. And after that it was all poker, and all sports. I used to play chess, poker, 29 card game. I used to play cricket. So we used to play all sorts of game. Except we used to do everything except studies. So and as you all know, it's not very difficult to pass. And I never wanted to be a rank holder, anyways. So I learned poker during that period. I never wanted to be a professional. One of my friend also told me, that ये gambling क्यों करना है तुझे, फ्यूचर में आदत पड़ जाएगा. So I thought कि नहीं मैं फ्यूचर में तो नहीं करूंगा, ये तो कॉलेज में टाइम पास के लिए कर रहे हैं, फ्यूचर में कभी नहीं करूंगा. So there was never a single point of time कि जब मैंने सोचा होगा कि I'll do poker, I will choose poker as a professional career. So after MBA, I joined CRISIL. I used to work, and again मतलब खुद का कुछ करना था, तो I didn't enjoy it much, but I had to do because education loan भी था, and I didn't have any idea कि क्या करना है. So I started working. After 1 year, 1.5 year, I thought कि poker का at least I can go to Goa, and I didn't know about online कि online में कितना होता है poker. So I thought कि once in a while I and my friend used to go to Goa every 2-3 months. So we had or moments, positive, negative moments. There were some experiences which we never could have had in our working career. I also started teaching for CAT during that period. So I wanted to quit job, but I didn't have any idea. So I thought, I'll start a few things. And I did really well in CAT coaching. Like four of my students went into IIM, and I didn't teach more than 6 7 students, I think. So, and their feedback was also very good. So I thought, this could be a thing which can let me quit my job. So, and also in poker, I earned more than my salary in that particular year. So I also thought that poker will aid me financially while I'll struggle for initial period in setting up CAT coaching institute. So I asked my wife casually, and she said that you can leave the job. It was difficult to, it is easy to say, but it was very difficult for me to leave the job. Frankly, it took me around 1 month to actually go to my boss and tell him that I want to leave job. And he was also like, इतना easy नहीं है, difficult है, बाहर से easy लगता है. And I didn't tell him about poker, frankly. And I also thought that poker will be a part-time thing. I'll do CAT full-time. And I shifted to that period of time. So in the first month itself, I left job in May. I first month itself, it was my biggest winning month for poker, and I continued poker full time. I didn't invest any time in CAT coaching, frankly. I didn't do any marketing, any investments, nothing I did for CAT coaching, and I continued poker. And I don't know when a part-time poker became full-time for me, frankly. And the journey has been really well. Post I started it full-time. First I have to convince myself, my family, and that we can do poker as a career. uh, People were not very accepting. They were saying that it is a job of जो लोग ज्यादा पढ़े लिखे नहीं हैं, उनके लिए है ये पोकर वगैरह. CA MBA करके इतने prestigious degrees लेके क्यों करना है. But I thought it's easier when we have such degrees, because we have something to fall back upon. We readily have plan B, so it is easier to take that risk. And जितना जल्दी लेंगे उतना ज़्यादा अच्छा है, क्योंकि एक तो आपका सैलरी बढ़ जाएगा, एंड सेकेंडली फाइनेंशियल कमिटमेंट भी ज़्यादा बढ़ जाएंगे लेटर पॉइंट ऑफ योर कैरियर. सो आई थॉट अगर रिस्क तो लेना है, एंड अगर रिस्क नहीं लिया एंड आई कंटिन्यू माई जॉब, एंड अगर मैं VP भी बन जाऊंगा, डायरेक्टर भी बन जाऊंगा, तो आई विल नॉट बी हैप्पी इनसाइड फ्रॉम इनसाइड. सो आई थॉट, एंड मेरे दिमाग में हमेशा रहेगा यार मैंने कुछ ट्राई नहीं किया. सो आई थॉट आई विल ट्राई समथिंग, and poker worked really well. I'm enjoying every moment of last 4 5 years of full-time poker. Yeah. So I went to WSOP for full 2 months, and that was awesome period. We didn't even think about. So I didn't do well financially in WSOP, but still it's one of my most memorable trip. I go to trekking every year, which is very difficult when you are working in a corporate, or even you are doing any business or profession. It is very difficult to take some time out. You can't just go out out of business or job for 10 15 days. So it's really rewarding in that sense that I can set my time. I have flexibility. I work also a lot. On Sundays we work around 16 to 17 hours, but I can take a leave for 1 month or 2 months. Nobody is going to say me anything, and it's not going to affect me financially also that much. So that ways it's really rewarding. So there are people who are saying that it's gambling. I in my past I maintain all the records of my winning and losses. So during past 5 years, I had only one single month of loss, and around out of 60 months, only one single month of loss, and 59 months I have been a winning player. So it is not possible by fluke or by luck. It's definitely not a gambling. I have also started. I invested around 500 rupees when I started poker, not professionally, but started playing online part time. And I used to grind very low stake, 1 2 rupees with 100 rupees buy-in. And I gradually moved up, and now I'm playing around 200, 400, 500, 1000, where I am sitting with 50,000 rupees per table and around 6 tables. So I am sitting at a point with 3 to 4 lakhs rupees a month at any point of time. So I can lose that money and I'm still comfortable. So the journey has been really good. And my target is to continue to improve my game. I have started taking coaching for specifically for poker recently. So for me, the journey is, really good. Every year, I think that, last year I was so bad, how I was a winning player. And every year it is happening. So it is very good because, and I think in my career, if this keeps happening every year, I'll be improving and I'll be a successful player. Yeah. So I think that's all. I'll not bore you with more. I think Jagdeep could share his journey, and thereafter we can move to question answer.
Thank you so much, Deepak. That was really interesting to hear, and I'm sure we'll discover a lot more in the Q&A session. Now, introducing Jagdeep. Now, Jagdeep Singh graduated from IIM Indore in the year 2012, and he joined L&T General Insurance soon after that. He quit his corporate grind to pursue poker full time, and now he has about 7 years of professional poker experience. He has won numerous tournaments in India as well as abroad. He has won Match IPL thrice, owns a Match IPL poker team, and has a final table finish in the World Series of Poker event. And guess what? In 2017, he even beat a poker AI at a deep stack challenge that took place in Oxford, UK. Jagdeep is sort of an introvert by nature, but he enjoys traveling, reading books, and a couple of other things. Now, over to you, Jagdeep. Let's hear what you have to say.
Hi, Shristi. Thank you for that introduction. Okay, so about my poker journey, I started playing poker in 2009, and mostly before I was preparing for CAT, I took a break and I was preparing for the CAT exam, and at that point of time, I picked up poker. So I learned it at my friend's bachelor party, at which point I started, I fell in love with the game. It was very much similar to how chess is, and I just enjoyed it a lot. There was a lot of this strategies and combinations and mathematics and everything, psychology involved in poker, and then I just fell in love with it. I kept playing it till the time that the CAT exam was like very nearby. The exam was in, I think, December, and till October I was just playing poker. And I was playing on Zynga on Facebook. I was making money. How I was making money was I was making chips, and there were like people who were like buying those chips off from me. So I was doing all those things. And then later on, like when the October hit, I kind of realized that, I have to stop doing this. I have to like start preparing for my CAT exam. So I sold off everything on my Facebook, all the chips and all. I made some money, and then like started preparing for CAT. Once I cleared that, then I thought that, let's give it another shot. I'm good at it. At that point of time, I played a lot of hours. By that time, I played maybe 2,000 hours of poker. So I had a decent idea, grasp about the game. I'd watched people play on YouTube, and the poker pros from US and Europe. I've seen them play. So it was intriguing. So when I went to Goa. So my first trip to Goa, I just went with 10,000 bucks, and I went there and I came out after 3 days. Actually, maybe a little less, around 50 hours. So I went into a casino and with 10,000, and I just kept on playing. And then when I came back after 50 hours, I had 3 lakh rupees with me. And I felt like, this is something interesting. You can make money with this as well. And at that point in time, but then I cleared my CAT exam and I had the calls, and then I got admission in IIM. And so I had to leave all that and I joined the MBA because, as Deepak rightly said, it's always good to have plan B. Even though my heart was with poker, but I just wanted something, coming from a middle class family, it's important that you have these cushions with you. And so I just finished my MBA at that time. And then after my MBA, once I finished, even in MBA, we used to have this poker club. We started this iPoke in Indore. And this was the most active club, because every other marketing club or finance club, there'll be people having those meetings and all. But we used to have our meetings religiously every night. After dinner, 8, 9, we would just sit, we'll keep on playing sometimes, till next morning and all. So those things used to just happen. It was a lot of fun playing poker so regularly. And I hope those people will, like play the tournament later on Saturday. So after that, what happened? So once I finished, once I graduated, I went to work with L&T Insurance, and at that point of time, I used to work over play over the weekend. I used to, like there used to be a game on Wednesday. I used to play that, and there used to be a game on Saturday, and I used to play that. So I used to play like 2 times over the weekend, and then slowly and slowly I started, building up my bankroll, because I wanted to be a professional poker player, but I also wanted to have, like a bankroll with me to make sure that I don't struggle through it. So I ensured that whatever stakes I'm going to play, I would have like 100 binds with me. And then I left my job. Once I have that from playing poker, from earning my income through my work, I left my job. And also there was a time when, I was able to swing for that much amount for what my monthly income was. I was able to swing for that much amount in a day. And suddenly, I mean, working for money was not a motivation anymore. The only thing was that, what you really like to do. And at that point of time, like I really liked playing poker. I mean, all the elements of it were like really intriguing and charming to me. So I just, it was a natural decision, I guess, to just keep playing poker. And that this was in 2013. And then when I did all of that, when I left my job, I just kept on playing. I went to Macau, I went to Vegas, I went to Europe. I played a lot of tournaments. I played a lot of cash games. So essentially, I'd put in a lot of hours. Like since it's been 7 years, and uh, in 2015, online poker in India became legal, and that was a turning point. At that point, uh, online poker you can play a lot. The essential elements of this game is that you become better as much and as more as you play. Experience makes you better. That's true for any sports, to be honest. So once I did that, and once I played a lot of hours, I became better at it. And then like I just kept on playing, winning, and moving up the stakes and all. And so life as a poker pro is also, it's not as exciting as people think, though. Because people have this idea that like it's a very happening lifestyle and all. It can be happening. It's up to you. But I mean, to succeed, you need to have discipline. So you need to have discipline in your game and in your routine and everything. So you need to like you need to approach the game as not something which is a party, but it's something as your work. Like you need to just completely focus on it, and you can't make decisions which will make the game thrilling for you. You have to make decisions which are which are boring. You have to stick to your strategy. So it's like it's repetition. It's boring. It's boredom. But essentially, when you get the results, then it sounds then you feel good about it. You feel accomplished. You feel satisfied with your results. So life is same. It's just the same routine. You have to wake up. You have to grind. You have to then play for as many hours. Like last year there was a time between October to February for 6 months. I played for like 10 to 12 hours every day. So like that's like. But then you get burned out when you play that much. So then, but the essential thing is that you can take your breaks. Like Deepak said, you can just take your breaks. You can take 2 months off. You can go. You have no boss. You work for yourself, and you can decide. So the financial and the personal freedom that you get with this, that's really rewarding. And but there is a caveat here, because the freedom that you get can also lead to a lot of the lack of structure in your life. And that lack of structure can then essentially uh, lead you astray. And because structure, so there's always this struggle between freedom and structure, and you have to balance that in poker. And poker essentially then is all about balance. It teaches you the main thing that I've learned from poker is that balance is the key in everything. Like you can't go to extremes in poker. Also, when you're playing, your strategy needs to be balanced to tackle every kind of player that is there. And so in poker and life, that's the so yeah, this is how life as a poker player is. So you spend a lot of time studying about the game, you analyze about the game, and then you get to travel a lot. and you can take your own breaks and you can work by your own time. Yes. That's about me.
Great to hear that, Jagdeep. Now, the first question that I've been waiting to ask you guys since the webinar began: how did you guys get the name? Yours is Fast King, and Deepak has multiple names. One of them is Chimpu. So, how exactly did you guys get the name?
Mine was so basically spaz in poker means someone who like throws a lot of money, who plays very liberally, so I wanted to like give away that image that I'm a like I would spend money and I would not be a tight player, or like, so that's how I picked up that name earlier.
It's very different. He takes a lot of money. So like mine was also similar thing, so in
Deepak, you're not audible. Can you be a little louder, please?
You can hear me?
Slightly louder.
Hello?
Yeah, better now.
Yeah, so like mine was also similar, like first, when I started, I just used my surname as a username. But in other sites, I used username Chimpu because, again, it is like, it's kind of irritating name, so people I thought people will spaz a lot at me. So initially it worked, but after a point of time, it doesn't.
Okay. So there's a saying that goes that poker is 100% skill and 50% luck. So what is your view on it? I mean, how much luck is required and how much of it is skill or strategy?
So in short run, it kind of the luck can be a factor, but in long run, luck plays very minimal factor. Obviously, there could be some players, who should win 100 big blinds, but in long run he wins 110. But a player who is not very good and he should actually lose some money, he can't, in long run he can't win. So there could be a player who keeps winning for 1 year, but he might not be a good player, and he will, lose his entire bankroll in the second or third year. So in the long run, luck hardly plays any role.
Okay.
So to give you an example, poker would be like it's like playing chess with someone and then flipping a coin with that same person. Flipping a coin is all about luck.
Yeah.
But the amount that you flip the coin for is much less for the amount that you play the chess game for. So so that is just the variance part of it, the flipping the coin. But the chess game is where the skill comes in, and that's where that's the most important part of it.
So poker as a career is very, very unconventional. I mean, we see people quitting their jobs, becoming travel bloggers or something. But poker, there's like you guys mentioned that there is stigma attached to it. So you must have faced a lot of resistance as well from your families, I believe. Did you guys face any resistance? And if you did, how exactly did you guys go about tackling? How did you convince them that this is the path that you want to follow?
So for me, like coming from a middle class background, both my parents had government jobs, and so for them it was quite a shocker, like when I decided that I'll do this. And essentially, I just I kept on playing, and I knew somewhere that like my results would make them be okay. The logic wouldn't help them, because they would essentially feel, they would be scared that it's gambling, and then I would end up doing something else. And so over a period of time, when I won a lot, when I won some tournaments, and there was a couple of interviews with some websites, there was this validation where they felt like it's not that bad, it's good. And when online poker became legal, and there was all you can play with your bank accounts and you can get tax money, you have to pay tax at the end of the year, all those things made it better essentially. And then they could also see that I had my own freedom, and I can do, I can stay with them when I want. I don't have to go to work every day. So it's like they were okay with it over a period of time.
What about you, Deepak?
Yeah, for me also, again the same thing. I'm also coming from middle class background, and I can understand from their perspective. If my child wants to do something like this, I might something which might not be acceptable in society, I might not be happily agree. So yeah, I understand their point of view, but it is what it is, I think. My wife is okay playing poker, after a point of time, but there used to be some distant relatives who used to call my parents and my wife, usko samjhao kuch, kya kar raha hai ye. So yeah, that issue has always been there, but after a point of time, when they saw that I am consistently winning, and I came on TV and there were some interviews, and it it, it is slowly changing for sure.
Okay. So, on an average, how much money can a person make, if they are playing professionally? What is the, I mean, there's no upper limit, but then approximately how much money is a person able to make when they're playing poker professionally?
So when we see winning, we see in terms of big blinds, not in actual money. So it depends. So the in terms of big blinds, so if he is playing a lower stake, say for example, blind level of 1-2 or 2-5, so he might win up to 200 or 300 big blinds in a session. Similarly, if he plays 500, 1000 blinds, he can win again the similar. So it is depending upon how much bankroll the person has, how much skill he has, and what kind of blind level he is playing. So a newcomer, if he starts playing 500,000, it's not a good bankroll management. He can win a lot of money, but he can also lose entire money, entire saving which he has. So that's why it is advisable to play under a certain limit. So there is an upper cap of winning, but there is also a lower cap, wherein you can't lose more. It is like stock market, similar to stock market. Depending upon how much you invest, the profit and loss will come.
Yeah. So essentially, what you have to think in terms of ROI. Like you do when you're investing money in stock market. You have to think if you have a lot of money to invest, you can make a lot more, and if you have less to invest, you can make less. So it's all about like ROI more than what you can make.
I remember Jagdeep, you mentioned that there's one thing you can play in cash and then you can play online. So what is the difference between the two, and which one do you think is better and on what terms?
So the live games are generally they happen in casinos. Like
Yeah.
you can go to Goa or you can go to Macau or other parts where you can play in casinos. Those are the live games. Online games are just you can play on your computer. So the difference is that in a live game, the setting it's very slow. Uh,
Hmm.
in every hour, you will be able to play like 15 to 20 hands. Whereas online, you can play a lot more. You can play 6 tables, and every hand is faster because it just happens very fast. It's just happening on computer. So you can essentially the 1 hour of online poker is probably equivalent to like 10 hours of live game, which means you can play a lot of hands. And the more hands you play, the more the element of luck you reduce because luck is noise. Like so, the more number of hands that you play, the noise just gets eliminated from your game, and which is why it becomes a game of skill. So for every poker player, his aim has to be that he just plays as many hours as he can, as many hands, as much volume. So it helps in that case, and also because online becomes a much more mathematical game, because you can figure out your strategy, how much you have to bet, what percentage of pot you have to bet, and at what sizing, on what street, what sizing you can do. So it's become very mathematical game, which also is helpful, to people who have that kind of background.
So, are there any instances where you had taken a very big gamble, a very big bet, and maybe you lost money or you won? Any such anecdotes that you might have?
Yeah, I mean, there are many because like I've been playing for 7 years, so I've played a lot, and I think I don't have anything specific as such about something because for me, when I play, it's not money, it's just units, like it has to be units. When I started playing, initially it was like this, where if I lose a certain amount, I would feel like, like I could have bought a car with this, or I could have I could have bought something else with this. And then I kind of realized, that kind of thinking will only lead me to play suboptimally, because I will always have this in my mind. This is worth this much. This is worth that. So then gradually I shifted to that kind of mental system where it's just units. It doesn't mean much, Only when you, like, at the end of the month or whenever you want to, go back and check your scores, it means something to you. But otherwise, when you're playing, it doesn't mean something. It's just like he said, it's in terms of big lines, and you cannot let it to be cannot think in terms of money, because that would be counterproductive. That would not be playing poker.
Deepak, what about you? Any big bets that you might have played which turned out to be a very good, a very good decision or a really bad one that you might have
Yeah,
ever
so
taken?
like early on in my career, like one of my trip in Goa, I lost around 80,000 rupees. I used to play at a very smaller stake, and my bankroll was also not much. So that was like I was feeling very bad, because I thought with 80,000 rupees I can do so much, And at that point of time, that it's good that that happened, because I realized the importance of bankroll management. And when I started playing online, I never did repeated that mistake, from last 4 years.
Um, so how exactly? I mean, there must have been times when you've lost. So how exactly have you guys trained yourself to handle the failures? Anytime you lose a game, how do you guys manage those emotions?
So I think one or two game doesn't matter. I think we always think, we as a poker player always think long term. So if we lose on a day or 2 days or 3 days, it doesn't affect much to us, I think.
Okay. Jagdeep,
Uh,
what about you?
so essentially, the thing is that if you're playing within your role, like for example, if you have 10,000 rupees to play, and every game that you're playing is for 10 rupees, or 100 rupees, then even if you lose that, you won't feel bad at all, right? Because it's a very less percentage of how much money you have in total. So as long as somebody is following that rule, and as poker players, you really should, because you're investing, and you have to follow those rules and be disciplined about it. You would not really feel too bad. People do start feeling bad if they actually, like, if they have 10,000 and they are betting for thousands, because then their money is getting like diminished very fast when you're losing. That is the problem. So if like for me, like Deepak said, like for me, I have never done that. So I have always made sure that like the this risk is eliminated from my life. The risk of ruin, rather, that you say in finance. There should not be any risk of ruin. So you should be able to play for a very long period of time. So you invest very little amount of your bankroll at every point of time, and which is why you would. It's difficult to have come to that phase where you are losing a lot. But having said that, there was this time when I moved to Delhi in 2015, when I kept on losing, and I kept on losing a lot, because I started experimenting with a new game. It's called like a pot limit Omaha, and I kept on losing a lot of money in that, and then I had moved to Delhi from Bombay. I left my job in Bombay. So all those things accumulated, and I was also going through a breakup and everything. So all those things accumulated. It was a rough phase in my life, and but the way, again, I think how I overcame that was just I kept on practicing. I kept on learning this new game, and I kept on studying about it, and then eventually, I recovered my losses, and then got back on track.
Just want to add one more point here. Against a popular assumption that it's a very risky game. It is actually a very risk-free game if you follow one simple rule, that you don't play out of your bankroll. That's a very simple rule. Everybody can follow that, and then it becomes very risk-free kind of a game against a popular perception.
Yeah, that's true.
We can't hear you, Shristi.
I think you're on me.
Sorry. So you guys have played on a lot of international levels like Macau, Las Vegas. So which one has been your favorite destination and why?
So last year I went to Vegas. I've been only to one international destination, and that is like Las Vegas, and it was like awesome. There were more than 20,000, 30,000 people were playing together, at one single place. And there were it was I couldn't imagine before going there that, it can be something like this. So there were around 100 or more than 100 tables, in single room, and you, you can hear chips looking, at any point of time. So, and I went with my friends, so it was super fun.
Pradeep,
Yeah.
what about you?
For me, I play in a lot of locations. The one I really like is Roswado, which is very close to Prague. It's on the border of Prague and Germany. Because like Prague is just beautiful. It's like Disneyland for adults. It's a beautiful town, and Europe itself is so beautiful. So when I go there, I travel around to different places in Europe. That is one place where I've like really enjoyed playing, but also because I've done really well there. Like I've had like good results there, and I have good memories, fond memories of that place. Vegas, yes, like because I've played there so often, I don't really like. I'm okay with it. Like first few times, I really enjoyed playing there, but then it's not something which I'll go there to play. It's my work, so I'll go there to play that. But I don't really enjoy Vegas. I feel that Vegas is very superficial city. Like everybody is just, it's not what they are in Vegas. So that's why that's the thing. Same with Macau. So for me, Barcelona and Roswado were the two places where I enjoy playing.
So, Jagdeep, the next question is for you. How did you manage to beat an AI at poker?
Uh, so the AI, it was very surprising that the AI was actually very smart. I never thought that an no limit hold'em AI would be able to play so well, because limit hold'em is solved, and limit hold'em AIs are very good, but no limit was like very good. Probably not that good enough. Maybe it was still in the initial design phases, but so the thing about that AI was that it was balancing everything really well. It was just figuring out that it would just become very, very unpredictable. And so we were playing match poker in Oxford, and then there were a bunch of poker athletes there who were like playing with this AI, and I was the best among them, and maybe if I had played for longer hours with the AI, maybe I would have won. But maybe in that smaller sample set of the hours that I played with the AI, I was able to do that.
Um, if somebody wants to develop a skill set to get good at poker, what would be the top uh, 3 to 4 skills that you would um, suggest that they would develop?
I would say they should be like uh, they should be logical thinkers. Like a logical thinking is very important. You need to be deductive in your reasoning and figure out, because essentially the point is that you have to find out what the other player holds. Like what kind of hands he can have, and so that deduction should come. So logical reasoning is there, and second is I think you have to be very observant. You have to give attention to details, because logic is as good as your assumptions. If you can refine your assumptions, then put it through a logical process, and the results will be good. With wrong assumptions, you will have wrong decisions. So attention to detail so that you can refine your assumptions. Then I think very important, most important is your EQ, temperament, because like they say, poker it's not a card game, but it's a game of people played with cards. So you have to see, you have to understand how other people think, and like what emotions they are going through, what kind of decisions will they take. And that is one part. And second part is when you go through, because it's just normal that you will lose. This is the game designed for that. It's just normal. And when you lose, you don't have to, like you have to still stay calm, and you don't have to start taking more risk to recover what you lose. So that is where the temperament comes in. So these are the, like, this is, I think, most important, because this is where most poker players falter. It's easy to be logical, like, especially, like I am graduates and we are all logical, the other things. But this is where a lot of people I see falter. It's the EQ and the temperament part. And then I think you need to have a bit of obsessiveness in your nature to be able to beat this game, because you need to delve into this, because poker is a complex problem. What is it? It's just a problem, and you have to get deeper into it and try to find solutions, like what you need to do in what situation, on the flop, on the turn, on the river, what you need to do. So that to solve that problem needs a lot of obsession with the game. So and obviously competitiveness, because like if you're competitive and you just want to be the best, only then you'll be able to succeed, because only 4 to 5% of people can do well in this. Yeah, so for me, these would be the perfect skills.
Deepak, what about you? What skills do you think a
I
person
think
should
he
develop?
answered it so well. I don't have anything to add here. Yeah, this is the same thing. If you are good at these things, you can never lose in poker.
Okay. So, all of these things, I think if you're playing poker in person, if you're all sitting on a table, then it becomes easier to, maybe apply the logic, be very observant. How do you emulate the same thing when you're playing online poker?
So the same things are applicable in online poker also. I think you have to be logical. You have to be observant, like how the other player is playing. You have to be mentally balanced, and you have to see if other person is not mentally balanced. So you have to adjust your game accordingly. So it's same thing. There is just a one difference in live, that in live poker people can give you live tells, their by their hand movement, or other movements, which is not possible in online poker. But otherwise, all other things are same. There's not much difference.
Zakdeep, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, I think live, there's this element of the element of psychology is much more in live, because you can just like gaze into, look at the other person and try to figure out what they're doing, and you can give false tells and all those kind of things. So it's all, the body language becomes a bigger part in live game, and psychology becomes a bit more important than maths in live games.
So for the Saturday's tournament, we'll be having a lot of people who are probably playing poker for the first time, or who are novices. So what tips would you like to give to them, as in how exactly can they bring on their A game?
They should sharpen their luck, like go to their temples first. No,
But we
honestly, it's
just
not just
discussed
enjoy.
some time back. There's no luck in poker. It's skills. It's logic.
Yeah,
So,
there's beginner's luck though. I mean, people who want to learn,
of course.
because essentially you get yeah, sorry. So people who get lucky at the start are more likely to pursue something. So there's beginner's luck. The people who get unlucky at the start will probably leave it and say, this is all luck and I don't want to do it. So that's how we are lucky. I think both Deepak and we have been lucky at the start when we started playing poker, that we were lucky. So,
Deepak, what would you like to add to this?
Yeah, just play your best. Whatever you have learned, try to apply that, and try to learn from others, like what others are doing and why they are doing. That's all.
Okay. So we have a slightly pro question here. Is tilt real and frequent? And how do you counter it in poker?
It is for real, like for
Why you hear me?
95%, 95% get players get affected by it, and that's why they become, they shift to their B game or C game. They don't play optimal, like which they can play otherwise. when they are in good mental state. So, but as Jagdeep said earlier, if you stop thinking about money, you start thinking about big lines, and you start thinking about what is the right play and what is the wrong play, and you stop thinking about results. Tilt won't come that frequently, and you can play optimally for a longer period.
Yeah. Also, to add to that, there are different element of tilt. Like some people get tilted when they lose, and some people get tilted when they lose to a bad player when they expect them to win. But essentially, when results go out of your expectations, when they are different from your expectations, is when people tilt. So just minimize your expectations is the key to reducing tilt. And also, like work on your mental game, work on whatever works for you, maybe meditation or, talking to a coach, have a mental coach, whatever works for you. Those are the ways you can reduce tilt, essentially.
Okay. So the next question is, what is a good bankroll if you are a beginner, and what stakes should you play? Cash as well as tournament.
Okay, so a good bankroll would be like, so for whatever stakes you're playing, you should have like at least 100 times of that buy-in as your bankroll, and then you can have a rule where you will only lose 4 to 5% of your bankroll in one session. So if you follow these rules, you will do well. And essentially, some games are easier where your opponent is easy, and then you can relax these rules a little bit. But for me, this would be the rule. And what was the second question? Second part?
If you're a winner, what stakes should you play at? Cash or tournament? Both.
Again, it's just a function of how much your bankroll is, and then you decide based on this bankroll, I will play these games that you have at least like 100 binds there to play that game.
Okay.
So it depends upon both bankroll and your skill level. So when you are playing a particular stake and you are crushing those stakes and you want to move up, so you have to decide, think about two things: whether I have a good bankroll for that stake and I have a skill level to beat the players, because every stake level player quality improves. So you have to decide these two things. If these, any one of thing is not satisfied, you don't move up. If both these things are satisfied, you move up.
Okay. So now a question for both of you. What is your favorite poker move and why?
My favorite move would be river check raise bluff.
What is that? I mean, if you could just explain that a little.
That's a last street. That's a last street of the game. Like there are 5 streets. So the last card, when the last card comes and the last betting round happens, at that point of time when you check and someone bets and then you raise and go all in, that's the one I like, because that's where like you put in the max pressure.
Yeah, my favorite would be like when I'm playing a tournament and there are 4 or 5 or 6 players are left, and there is a prize. So first player is 10 lakhs, second player wins 7 lakhs. So there is a prize pressure for everyone. And when I have a big stake, I really like to put pressure on them, because if nobody wants to eliminate early, so and yeah, I want to keep shoving every hand, Yeah. I really enjoy that thing.
So a lot of times it happens in online tournaments that people go all in, and I'm sure in your matches also it happens. And sometimes you're not ready to maybe take that kind of a risk. So how exactly do you combat that, and how do you win against that odd?
So I was speaking to one of the one person about this. He was saying me that everybody shoves at early stage kya karna hai. So tournament poker and cash game player are entirely two different things. In tournament poker, you have to be really aggressive. You to win a tournament, you have to collect chips from all the players. So if someone is all shoving every hand, it's good for you because you have it's the opportunity to take his chips. He is giving a lot more opportunity than a normal player who is playing normal. So you have to widen your range, and so if he is shoving 100%, you have to call 50%. You are more than 50% of your range. So it's all about taking the chips, taking the opportunity to take chips from all the players.
Okay. Jagdeep?
Yeah, I think same thing. It's mostly about figuring out what range the other person is shoving with, going all in with, and that range of cards, and then figuring out what should your range of cards be that beats that range. So that's a theoretical process, but once you get into it, once you put your mind into it, you can come to an answer, and then you can just keep on doing it. So sometimes you will get unlucky, sometimes you will lose money, you will go bust out of the tournament. But then again, the idea is not to play one tournament. The idea is to just play as many as you can, and then when you the times when you lose, that they will be compensated by the time when you win. So that's the thing. Tournaments, I think, are a bit more high variance than cash games. So I would say, like for beginners, yeah, the downside is limited. So which is why I think a lot of people get attracted to the tournaments. So there are limited downsides and the upside is good. But I think for anyone to really succeed in poker, they should be good in cash games, because that is where you can get your maximum ROI. Where you can have ROIs of 1,000% in cash games. Tournaments, you might not get those ROI. So yeah.
Okay. So we've been getting a couple of questions about the books and tools or apps, that you guys use. Which are the best ones available out there? Which books can they refer to? Which apps can a person play on? The best ones in the market?
Books, I'm not sure if the books are a bit outdated method of learning at the moment. They are like training videos, and essentially they are apps which, because the computer has advanced so much, there are AIs as well, so they are solvers for everything. For example, I play the game Pot Limit Omaha, and there's a solver that will solve every element of the game, which will tell you what is the right move to play at what point against a person who plays a specific range of hands. So it's important. So this tool for Pot Limit Omaha is Monka Solver, which you can work on, and you can find out just the right frequency or ranges, what frequency of bets you need to make, what your sizing of bets should be. You can learn all of that, but it's like it's delving too deeply into it. So for tournaments, it's different. I think, if I'm not wrong, Flopzilla is one for the tournament. I don't play those many tournaments, so I don't really know about them. And maybe Deepak can tell us about the tournaments, what are the software that you need to
Jagdeep, can you
use.
be a little louder? Actually, we couldn't hear the name of the solver.
Monker Solver.
Okay.
Monker. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And also, one more thing. So instead of books, if someone wants to really learn, they are like training website. Like there's something called Run It Once Poker. So you can just go there and you can watch their beginner videos, their intermediate videos, their advanced videos for different set of players. So based on your skill level, you can go there and try to learn. Especially if you are like a beginner or intermediate player, you will find something of value there on those sites. Run It Once Poker.
Deepak, what is your take on this?
Yeah, I agree to him. Books are outdated, and like there are hardly any books. Very few books which could be helpful. But most of the time, you can increase your learning at the limited period of time from watching videos compared to books. So yeah, I will also advise to use Run It Once, or there are courses for tournaments like Raise Your Age. There are softwares which there are solvers like for tournaments Pio Solver, for PLO Port Limit Omaha. It is Monker Solver, as Jagdeep said. So use those softwares, because the books are have been written in past, and the games have evolved so much that it is not advisable to it's like you learn reading books for sure, but at the same, the time that you give in reading books, if you give similar time watching online content, your learning will be much faster.
Okay. So there are some B schools, like for example, I am Code. They have introduced credit courses on learning strategy through poker. So what is your take on it? As in, it's probably mostly theoretical. So how exactly do you think? How do you think the idea is, and how can they make it better?
So I'm not sure what the course is, so don't know if we can comment on how to make it better. But as a course, this sounds like really exciting, because poker strategies can be a really good theoretical course. You can find out, you can just like then people can play. They can be practicals as well. People can play and then figure out the interesting strategies that they come up with. Everyone can you can have different strategies, especially if you're playing one-on-one heads up. You can have different strategies to beat someone. And so as a course, it could be it could be amazing, and it can really like help some people to like learn this game and become better at it. I think it's a great initiative.
Yeah, I agree. I also agree to that, and I think poker. The students who are learning from this core might not play poker professionally, and still the learnings can be useful. Poker teaches lot of life skills actually. So I am a better decision maker after playing poker. I can be I'm very objective in decision making process. So there are a lot of learnings which can be applied to other professions or in your life from poker learnings. So it is not necessary that you join that course only for poker. But again, I think it is very difficult to teach poker in a classroom environment. So I think it will require a lot of hard work, anyone who is trying to teach that.
Some of the Fin guys want to know what are the poker strategies that they can use for options trading.
I'm not the right guy for that. Like, I haven't done options trading at all, so I wouldn't know uh, what strategies would go there. So I think few basics, but which work well in any kind of investment. Like make sure that you don't, uh, if you're not doing well, make sure you don't increase your risk a lot just to recover, or make sure that you invest as much as you can, as you're willing to lose, and still just eliminate the risk of losing from your game. Those are the basic investing. But the specific, I'm not too sure if I know.
Deepak, would you happen to
Yeah,
know?
yeah, same here. I have also not done option trading, but I think be objective in your investment. Not try to be emotionally attached to the investment. Be objective. So there is a theory in share market trading that if you believe something, you find when you are researching for a particular type for a particular share, and if you believe that this share is a buy, you will only search about the positives about that share. So, or if you believe that it is not a plus EV to buy that share, you will search about the negative things. So it is important that be objective in your research and take decision without any emotion attached to it.
Okay. I'll take one last question. That is from Pranav. Are you going to take all of our money on Saturday in the tournament?
No, we will be there. Like it's just for fun, and I think in a tournament, no anyone can win. That's the thing about tournaments. There's just so high variance. So the variance is so high, so like anyone can win. A good player can only have he can't win every tournament, and he can just have a decent ROI in tournaments.
All right. I think we'll close now. Thank you so much for joining us, Deepak and Jagdeep. We've had an amazing session. It was really great to listen to both of you. And thank you everybody for attending this session. We hope to see you all on Saturday. Have a wonderful time, and thanks a lot to Mumbai chapter for all the support. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Srishti.